It only took 2 men to bring one of football's greatest empires to its knees. Barcelona, the club that once paid UNICEF to wear their logo, ended up £1.35 billion in debt, unable to register free signings, and forced to watch Lionel Messi cry as he walked away from the only home he ever knew. This isn't just about bad luck or tough rules. It is about reckless spending, secret contracts, and boardroom battles that turned a proud institution into a financial disaster. This is exactly how Barcelona collapsed under the weight of financial ruin, and why the struggle to restore stability from this financial wreckage is far from over. Before we understand how Barcelona destroyed itself, we need to go back to when they had everything right. It's 2003 and Joan Laporta has just been elected Barcelona president. The club is broken, financially struggling, no major trophies in years, and Real Madrid are dominating Spanish football. But Laporta has a vision that goes beyond just winning games. He believes Barcelona should be different. While every other big club is chasing quick money and big name signings, Laporta focuses on something else entirely: identity. He pours money into La Masia, the youth academy, believing that homegrown players understand what Barcelona truly means. Then comes 2006, and Laporta does something that shocks the football world. For over 100 years, Barcelona's shirt had been sacred. No sponsors, no corporate logos, nothing. But on this day, they're finally putting something on their chest. The football world waits to see which company paid millions for this historic moment. Instead, they see 4 letters: UNICEF. Barcelona isn't getting paid for this. They're paying UNICEF £1.5 million every year to help children around the world. The message is crystal clear: money isn't everything. This is what more than a club actually means. And the football, pure magic. Pep Guardiola takes over in 2008 with a squad full of La Masia graduates: Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, Pedro. Add a young Lionel Messi to the mix and you have the greatest football team ever assembled. They win the treble in 2009, playing football that makes the world fall in love with the game again. Everything is perfect. Barcelona has found the formula. Develop your own players, stick to your principles, let the football do the talking. But success always attracts wolves, and one wolf had been watching from the shadows, waiting for his moment. His name was Sandro Rosell, and he had very different ideas about what Barcelona should become. June 2010, Sandro Rosell wins the Barcelona presidency with over 60% of the vote, promising to bring economic stability to the club. The fans are happy. After all, he was once Laporta's right-hand man. Surely he understands what Barcelona stands for, but Rosell has been watching from the outside, and he doesn't like what he sees. While Barcelona is winning trophies and playing beautiful football, other clubs are making serious money. Real Madrid has massive sponsorship deals. Manchester United is cashing in on global marketing. Meanwhile, Barcelona is literally paying to have a charity on their shirt. To Rosell, this isn't noble, it's stupid business. His first target, that sacred shirt. In December 2010, just 6 months after taking power, Rosell drops a bombshell. Barcelona has signed the biggest shirt sponsorship deal in football history. £150 million over 5 years with Qatar Foundation. That's £30 million per year, making it worth double what Real Madrid earns from their sponsors. The UNICEF logo moved to the back of the shirt like an afterthought. This deal places Barcelona as the indisputable brand leader in world football, Rosell declares proudly. For the first time in over 100 years, Barcelona's chest displays a paying sponsor. The sacred tradition has been sold for quick cash. But this isn't just about the shirt. This is Rosell announcing a new philosophy. Barcelona is now a business first, football club second. The old romantic ideals about being more than a club, that's just marketing talk now. The fans are confused and angry, but Rosell doesn't care. The money is flowing in, and that's all that matters to him. What he doesn't realize is that he's just planted a poison seed that will grow into something monstrous. Because once you start prioritizing money over principles, where do you draw the line? And when that line keeps moving, eventually there's no line left at all. The damage Rosell is about to inflict on Barcelona will make the Qatar deal look like pocket change. By 2013, Rosell thinks he's running Barcelona like a proper business. Revenue is up, sponsors are happy, and they're still winning trophies. But he's about to make the decision that destroys everything, and it involves a skinny Brazilian kid from Santos. Neymar Jr. is the most exciting young talent in world football. Every big club wants him, but Barcelona has been working on this deal for years. Rosell sees dollar signs. Imagine Neymar and Messi together. The marketing possibilities are endless. On June 3rd, 2013, Camp Camp Nou erupts as Neymar is presented to 56,000 delirious fans. Rosell stands proudly at the podium and announces the transfer fee, £57.1 million. Neymar has cost £57.1 million, full stop. Rosell declares with confidence, "I will say it again for the umpteenth time, £57.1 million, full stop." But Rosell is lying, and this lie will destroy him. Behind the scenes, the real numbers are staggering. Barcelona didn't pay £57.1 million. They paid over £100 million when you include all the hidden costs. There are secret payments to Neymar's family company NNN worth £40 million. There are mysterious contracts signed with Neymar's father for scouting services and finding young Brazilian talent. There are even payments for charitable work that never happened. The deals are so complicated and shady that it seems like Rosell and his team are deliberately trying to hide the true cost. Why? Because paying over £100 million for a 21-year-old would have caused outrage among fans and members. Better to lie and hope nobody notices. But someone does notice. Jordi Cases, a Barcelona member and pharmacist, suspects something is wrong. When he requests more information about the transfer, the club refuses to provide it. So in December 2013, Cases does something that changes everything. He files a legal complaint with Spanish authorities, alleging misappropriation of funds. Rosell laughs it off during his Christmas address, calling it part of an organized persecution against the club. He sticks to his story, £57.1 million, nothing more. Then January 20th, 2014 arrives. Spanish newspaper El Mundo publishes explosive details showing the real cost was closer to £95 million. The evidence is overwhelming: contracts, payments, secret deals. Rosell has been caught red-handed. Judge Pablo Ruz opens an official investigation that same week. 3 days later, on January 23, 2014, a broken Sandro Rosell announces his irrevocable resignation as Barcelona president. "I don't want unjust attacks to negatively affect the club's reputation," he says. But everyone knows the truth. He's been exposed as a liar who nearly destroyed Barcelona's credibility for the sake of a transfer. As Rosell walks away from Camp Nou for the final time, he leaves behind a club in chaos and a poison seed that's about to sprout into something far worse. His successor, Josep Maria Bartomeu, Rosell's loyal vice president who learned every wrong lesson about how to run Barcelona. The nightmare is just beginning. Josep Maria Bartomeu steps into the presidency like a man inheriting a time bomb. He's been Rosell's loyal deputy for 4 years, watching and learning. But instead of learning how to fix Barcelona's problems, he's learned how to make them catastrophically worse. At first, everything seems fine. In 2015, Barcelona wins the treble, La Liga, Copa del Rey, and Champions League. The MSN attack, Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, is terrorizing Europe. Fans are celebrating, and Bartomeu looks like a genius. But behind the trophies and celebrations, Bartomeu is making decisions that will eventually break the club. He's spending money like a drunk tourist in Las Vegas, buying expensive players without any real plan, offering insane salaries, and completely ignoring the warning signs that Barcelona is heading for disaster. The worst part, he has the perfect chance to fix things. Barcelona is making more money than ever before, but instead of using this windfall wisely, Bartomeu and his team keep making bigger and more expensive mistakes. Then comes the summer of 2017, and everything changes in the worst possible way. Neymar is unhappy. He's tired of being seen as just Messi's sidekick and wants to be the main star somewhere else. Paris Saint-Germain sees an opportunity and does the unthinkable. They pay his £222 million release clause, the most expensive transfer in football history. Barcelona are caught completely off guard. They never thought suddenly their second best player is gone and they have a massive hole in their attack. Any smart club would take that £220 million and use it carefully to rebuild. Maybe sign 2 or 3 quality players, invest in the youth academy, or simply save it for a rainy day. Instead, Barcelona panic. And when Barcelona panic, they do stupid things. First, they throw £105 million at Borussia Dortmund for Ousmane Dembélé, a 20-year-old kid who's had exactly one good season in Germany. He's supposed to be Neymar's replacement, but his Barcelona career starts with a serious hamstring injury that keeps him out for 4 months. Over the years, Dembélé will miss 141 matches due to injuries and fitness problems, never coming close to filling Neymar's boots. 6 months later, they panic again and spend £120 million on Felipe Coutinho from Liverpool. He was brilliant as an attacking midfielder at Liverpool, but Barcelona inexplicably try to turn him into a left winger. It doesn't work at all. Coutinho becomes a bench player earning over £400,000 per week, just like that. £222 million is gone in 6 months, and Barcelona still haven't found Neymar's replacement. So what does Bartomeu do? He panics again and spends another £120 million in 2019 on Antoine Griezmann from Atletico Madrid. But Griezmann is used to playing as a central striker or second striker, not as a winger in Barcelona's system. Another expensive square peg trying to fit into a round hole. The results? Griezmann is eventually sold back to Atletico for just £20 million. Coutinho goes to Aston Villa for around £20 million. Dembele leaves for PSG for £50 million. Combined, Barcelona lost over £400 million on these 3 transfers alone. But wait, there's more. From 2014 to 2020, Bartomeu spends over £1 billion on signings. Jeremy Mathieu for £20 million, Andre Gomes for £35 million, Malcolm for £41 million, Arda Turan for £34 million, Nelson Semedo for £35 million, Paulinho for £40 million, and dozens of others who barely played. It's not just the transfer fees that are killing Barcelona, it's the waste. Bartomeu is handing out contracts like he's playing Football Manager with unlimited money. The wage bill explodes to over £600 million per year, the highest in football history. Samuel Umtiti is earning £200,000 per week while spending most of his time injured. Coutinho is making over £400,000 per week sitting on the bench. Even aging players like Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba are earning £400,000 and £250,000 per week respectively. And Messi? His 4-year contract is worth £555 million, a sum so massive it's literally killing the club's finances. Barcelona is spending more money on salaries than they're actually making, but Bartomeu doesn't care. In his mind, success on the pitch will solve everything. There's just one problem. Barcelona isn't succeeding on the pitch anymore, and the failures aren't just disappointing, they're absolutely humiliating. Money can't buy you love, and as Barcelona is about to discover, it definitely can't buy you mental strength. Despite having one of the most expensive squads ever assembled, Barcelona keeps collapsing when it matters most. And it all starts with what should have been their greatest triumph. It started in 2017, the infamous remontada. PSG stunned Barcelona 4-0 in Paris, leaving them for dead. But then came that magical night at Camp Nou, 6-1, the most incredible comeback in Champions League history. Neymar, Suarez, and the team produced pure magic. Barcelona dared to dream. They were invincible. But in 2018, AS Roma snapped that illusion brutally. After winning 4-1 at home in the first leg, Barcelona were already booking their flights to the semi-finals. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Roma dispatched Barcelona with a 3-0 win in Rome. The away goals rule ended their European run, and once again, Barcelona had bottled a commanding lead. The players looked shell-shocked. How do you throw away a 4-1 advantage? 2019 brought a new horror. At Anfield, Liverpool erased a 3-0 deficit with a 4-0 demolition that will haunt Barcelona forever. Even without Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino, their 2 best attackers, Liverpool showed more fight, more hunger, more intelligence. The most painful moment, Trent Alexander-Arnold's instant corner for Divock Origi became iconic. Then came Lisbon, August 2020. Bayern Munich obliterated Barcelona 8-2. It was history, and not the good kind. 8 goals conceded, the worst defeat since 1946. Manager Quique Setien was replaced within days. Felipe Coutinho, the £120 million flop, came off the bench for Bayern and scored twice against his own club, the ultimate humiliation. For Lionel Messi, the greatest player in Barca history, it was intolerable. 4 years, 4 European humiliations, a crisis not just on the pitch, but rooted in structural rot, ballooning spending, misplaced faith in aging stars, and catastrophic failure to adapt. And so it was that by mid-2020, Barcelona's house of cards began to crumble. Because when the world stopped due to a pandemic, Barcelona's financial madness was about to be exposed in the most brutal way possible. Just when Barcelona thought things couldn't get worse, the world stopped. March 2020, COVID-19 shuts down football across Europe. Stadiums fall silent. Seasons grind to a halt. For most clubs, it's a temporary crisis. For Barcelona, it becomes the final nail in the coffin. Barcelona had big financial plans for the 2019-20 season. They expected to make £1.059 billion, which would have made them one of the highest earning sports teams in the world. The money was supposed to come from ticket sales, museum tours, merchandise, sponsorships, and TV rights. Instead, they made £855 million. They lost £203 million they were counting on. No fans in the stadiums means no ticket revenue. No tourists means the Camp Nou Museum is empty. Sponsors are cutting deals. Even TV money is reduced because of delayed and canceled matches. Any normal president would panic and start cutting costs immediately, but Josep Maria Bartomeu isn't normal. He's delusional. Bartomeu actually believes that once football returns to normal, Barcelona will recover financially. So what does he do during the pandemic? He continues making expensive signing. He brings in Miralem Pjanic in a swap deal with Arthur, adding more wages to an already bloated payroll. The club is hemorrhaging money, but Bartomeu acts like nothing has changed. Behind the scenes, things get even worse. In March 2021, the Catalan police raid Camp Nou and arrest Bartomeu along with 3 other club officials. The charges: the Barcagate scandal. Barcelona had been paying a company called i3 Ventures to launch smear campaigns on social media against their own players, including Lionel Messi and Gerard Piqué, who had criticized Bartomeu's leadership. The company was being paid 6 times the normal rate for these services. It was pure corruption, and Bartomeu was caught red-handed. But by then, Bartomeu was already gone. Facing a no-confidence motion from the club members, he had resigned in October 2020, along with his entire board, rather than face the humiliation of being voted out. It was an honor to serve the club, he said in his farewell speech. But there was no honor in what he left behind. A club in technical bankruptcy with debts that seemed impossible to repay. When Joan Laporta returned as president in March 2021, he discovered the true extent of the disaster. On August 16, 2021, he held one of the most shocking press conferences in football history. The numbers were staggering: £1.35 billion in total debt, a negative net worth of £451 million, meaning Barcelona was technically bankrupt. And the most devastating figure of all, the club was spending 103% of its income on player wages alone. "We have found the club in a worse situation than expected," Laporta announced. "The previous board has left us in a dramatic and complicated situation, but the worst news was still to come. Due to La Liga's strict financial fair play rules, Barcelona couldn't register new players or even renew existing ones without drastically reducing their wage bill. And that included the greatest player in the club's history. Even though Lionel Messi had agreed to take a 50% pay cut to stay, Barcelona still couldn't afford to keep him under La Liga's salary cap. The unthinkable was about to happen. After 21 years at the club, Lionel Messi was going to be forced to leave Barcelona. Not because he wanted to, but because the club he loved more than anything in the world simply couldn't afford him anymore." August 5th, 2021. Joan Laporta is frantically making phone calls during a friendly match between Barcelona and FC Salzburg in Austria. Something is terribly wrong. Less than 24 hours later, the football world receives the most shocking announcement in modern history. Lionel Messi is leaving Barcelona. Despite FC Barcelona and Lionel Messi having reached an agreement and the clear intention of both parties to sign a new contract today, this cannot happen because of financial and structural obstacles, the club statement reads. The football world stops. Messi leaving Barcelona, it's like saying the sun won't rise tomorrow. This is a player who joined the club at 13 years old, who has spent his entire professional career there, who is Barcelona in the minds of millions of fans worldwide. But La Liga president Javier Tebas has delivered an ultimatum that changed everything. Under La Liga's strict financial fair play regulations, Barcelona must reduce their wage bill by £200 million before they can register any player, including renewals. The club's salary cap has been slashed from over £600 million to just £97 million for the 2021-22 season, a devastating 84% reduction. Barcelona are spending 103% of their income on wages alone. They're literally paying more in salaries than they earn as a club. La Liga's ruling is crystal clear. No new registrations until the books are balanced. Not for superstars, not for free signings, not even for Lionel Messi. Even with Messi willing to take a 50% pay cut, even with his desperation to stay, the numbers simply don't work. Spanish law won't allow players to take more than a 50% reduction from their previous contract, and Barcelona's financial situation is so dire that even half of Messi's salary would break La Liga's regulations. 3 days later, on August 8, 2021, the most heartbreaking press conference in football history takes place at Camp Nou. Lionel Messi walks into the auditorium wearing a black polo shirt, his eyes already red. Before he even speaks, someone hands him tissue. The greatest player in Barcelona's history is about to say goodbye, and he's not ready for it. "This is very difficult for me after so many years," Messi begins, his voice breaking. "I wasn't prepared for this. Last year I was convinced I wanted to leave, but this year's different. My family and I were convinced we were staying. That's what we wanted more than anything." The tears come freely now. In the audience sit his former teammates. "I did everything possible to stay," Messi continues. "I was willing to reduce my salary by 50%. My desire was to stay here. I've done everything and it wasn't possible. The club couldn't do it because of La Liga's financial fair play rules." When asked about La Liga's decision, Messi's frustration shows. The president explained that the club has debt problems, and because of La Liga regulations, it's just not possible. Why keep drawing it out if it's nearly impossible? The questions from journalists are gentle, respectful. Everyone in the room understands they're witnessing the end of an era. When asked about his next destination, Messi admits he doesn't know yet, though Paris Saint-Germain is clearly interested. PSG is a possibility, but nothing is confirmed, he says. "I have received many calls since the Barcelona statement." The press conference lasts about 20 minutes, but every second feels like an eternity. This is Lionel Messi, 6-time Ballon d'Or winner, Barcelona's all-time top scorer with 672 goals, the man who won 34 trophies with the club, including 4 Champions Leagues and 10 La Liga titles. As he walks away from the podium for the final time as a Barcelona player, everyone knows they've witnessed something historic and heartbreaking. The greatest love story in football history has ended not with triumph or choice, but because La Liga's financial regulations wouldn't bend, not even for the greatest player who ever lived. 2 days later, on August 10th, 2021, Messi signs for Paris Saint-Germain on a free transfer. The boy who arrived from Argentina at 13 years old leaves at 34, forced out by regulations designed to save clubs from themselves. Barcelona fans are devastated, but they understand the cruel irony. La Liga's rules, meant to protect clubs from financial ruin, have just forced Barcelona to lose the one asset that could have helped them recover. The sacred shirt that once bore only UNICEF's logo now carries the weight of the greatest loss in the club's history. And Joan Laporta, he still has to figure out how to save Barcelona from complete collapse under the same unforgiving regulations that just cost them their greatest player. To understand why Barcelona can't sign and register players, you need to understand La Liga's unique approach to financial control, and why it's completely different from anywhere else in Europe. Most football leagues use what's called retrospective financial fair play. UEFA's rules, for example, look at what clubs spent over the past few seasons and then punish them afterward with fines or bans. It's like getting a speeding ticket after you've already reached your destination. La Liga does the complete opposite. They use proactive financial control. They stop you from speeding before you even start the car. Every summer, before the transfer window opens, La Liga's financial analysts examine each club's books with forensic precision. They look at revenue, debts, operating costs, and projected income. Then they calculate something called the squad cost limit, the maximum amount that club can spend on players and coaches' salaries for the entire season. This isn't a suggestion or a guideline. This is law. If La Liga says Barcelona can spend £200 million on wages, they cannot spend £200 million and €1. Not for Messi, not for anyone. But here's where it gets brutal for clubs in trouble. If you're already over your limit, which Barcelona definitely are, La Liga implements what's called the alternative rule. Instead of the normal 1-to-1 ratio, spend what you earn, you get restricted to ratios like 1.3 or 1.4. What does this mean? For every £3 Barcelona save by selling players or cutting wages, they can only spend £1 on new signings. It's financial punishment designed to force clubs back into sustainability. La Liga president Javier Tebas doesn't care if you're Barcelona, Real Madrid, or a small club from the 3rd division. The rules apply to everyone equally. There are no exceptions, no special treatment, no bending the rules for superstars. The objective is to ensure long-term financial health, Tebas explains. We'd rather have clubs angry at us today than bankrupt tomorrow. This system is why Barcelona lost Messi, why they struggle to register free signings, and why they're constantly scrambling to balance their books. La Liga won't let them register a single player until their finances comply with the regulations. Compare this to other leagues. In 2021, while Barcelona couldn't keep Messi due to salary cap restrictions, Paris Saint-Germain was free to sign him because French football has no such proactive controls. PSG reportedly spent 99% of their income on salaries that season, something that would be impossible in Spain. The Premier League has profit and sustainability rules, but they're backward-looking and often result in just beans. Serie A and the Bundesliga have similar retrospective approaches. Only La Liga says, no, you cannot spend money you don't have. We will stop you right now. For Barcelona, this means every decision is a chess match with La Liga's financial analysts. Want to sign a player? First show us how you'll pay for him within your salary cap. Want to renew a contract? Prove you have the financial space. It's why Barcelona spent months in 2021 and 2022 desperately trying to offload players, convince others to take pay cuts, and eventually resort to selling future income through economic levers. La Liga's iron fist doesn't bend, doesn't negotiate, and doesn't care about your history or reputation. The regulations that forced out Lionel Messi are the same ones that continue to strangle Barcelona's ability to compete in the transfer market. Joan Laporta knew that to save Barcelona, he'd have to get creative, very creative, and his solutions would involve gambling the club's future to save its present. Joan Laporta had a problem that seemed impossible to solve. La Liga's regulations were choking Barcelona to death. Messi was gone, and fans were demanding new signings to compete with Real Madrid. But how do you buy players when you can't even register the ones you already have? Laporta's answer was radical, controversial, and potentially catastrophic. Sell the future to save the present. He called them economic levers, a fancy name for selling Barcelona's most valuable assets to generate quick cash. It was the financial equivalent of selling your house to pay your credit card bills. It might solve today's crisis, but what about tomorrow? The first lever was pulled in June 2022. Barcelona sold 10% of their La Liga TV rights to American investment firm Sixth Street Partners for £207.5 million over 25 years. Think about that for a moment. Barcelona took £207 million up front, but will pay back over £500 million over the next quarter century. But Laporta wasn't done. 1 month later, he pulled the second lever, another 15% of TV rights to the same company for £400 million. Combined, Barcelona had sold 25% of their television income for the next 25 years, generating £667 million in immediate cash. We are activating economic levers and executing our patient, sustainable, and efficient strategy, Laporta announced proudly. But there was nothing patient or sustainable about mortgaging the club's future for immediate relief. The third lever involves selling 49% of Barca Studios, the club's digital and media production arm, to Socios.com and Orpheus Media for nearly £200 million. Barcelona also revalued the remaining 51% stake, booking another £208 million in artificial gains. Suddenly, Barcelona had over £800 million in new money. On paper, they'd gone from a £481 million loss to a £304 million profit. La Liga's regulations loosened, and Barcelona could finally start registering players again. Having money doesn't mean you can register players. Barcelona learned that the hard way. After Messi's exit in August 2021, the club signed Memphis Depay, Eric Garcia, and Sergio Aguero on free transfers and reacquired Emerson Royal. But free wasn't free of impact. Wages and signing costs still hit La Liga's salary cap. The situation was absurd. Barcelona had 4 new players but couldn't field any of them. A drastic pay cut from Gerard Piqué finally unlocked Depay and Garcia's registrations for the opening weekend. The veteran defender essentially sacrificed part of his salary so 2 teammates could play football. Aguero followed on August 31st, while Emerson was quickly sold to Tottenham the same day. Barcelona couldn't even afford to keep a player they just re-signed, but the registration nightmares were just beginning. In January 2022, Barcelona paid £55 million for Ferran Torres from Manchester City, but initially couldn't register him. They had the money, they had La Liga's approval for the transfer fee, but the mathematics still didn't didn't work. The fix came when Samuel Umtiti, the injury-prone defender everyone wanted to leave, restructured and extended his deal, lowering the immediate wage burden just enough so Ferran could be inscribed. It was financial origami, folding and refolding contracts until the numbers somehow fit La Liga's requirements. That financial flurry allowed the club to register Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, Frank Kessié, and Andreas Christensen, plus renewed deals for Ousmane Dembélé and Sergi Roberto. But even then, Jules Koundé had to wait another 2 weeks as Barcelona squeezed under the salary cap. The French defender was ready to play, but La Liga's computer said no. The constant frustration wasn't about transfer fees versus free transfers, it was La Liga's relentless arithmetic. The squad cost limit counts wages and amortized transfer fees against audited budgets. Every euro is tracked, every calculation verified, every registration scrutinized. Through all of it, Barcelona's fans watched in bewilderment as their club repeatedly created problems that shouldn't exist. How do you sign world-class players but struggle to register them? How do contract renewals become bureaucratic nightmares? Why does every transfer window feel like solving a math equation? The answer is simple but painful. Until Barcelona truly remodels its wage structure and cost base, every window brings the same headache. Even today, with reduced debts and economic levers activated, Barcelona still walks this tightrope. It's the ultimate symbol of how far Barcelona had fallen, from a club that developed Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta seamlessly through their academy, to a club that struggles with basic administrative tasks like registering the players that they've already bought and paid for. Fast forward to today, and you might think Barcelona's story has a happy ending. They won La Liga in 2022-23 under Xavi Hernandez, giving fans hope that the club was finally recovering from its darkest period. But the 2023-24 season brought turbulence. Performances dipped, pressure mounted, and in May 2024, Barcelona made the difficult decision to dismiss Xavi. His replacement was Hansi Flick, signed on a 2-year deal, tasked with restoring stability both tactically and psychologically. On the pitch, Flick's first season 2024-25 could hardly have gone better. Barcelona swept a domestic treble, the Supercopa de España, in January, with a stunning 5-2 victory over Real Madrid. The Copa del Rey in April, edging Real Madrid 3-2 after extra time, and La Liga in May, clinched with a 2-0 derby win at Espanyol. Flick himself, along with Lamine Yamal and Rafinha, picked up La Liga awards as Barca finished 4 points clear at the top with the league's best away record. For a moment, it felt like the old Barcelona was back, playing beautiful football and winning trophies. But scratch beneath the surface, and the financial nightmare is far from over. Barcelona's debt remains stubbornly high. Some reports put it around £1.35 billion, while others suggest closer to £2.7 billion once the Camp Nou renovation is included. Either way, the number is staggering. The Espai Barça project, budgeted at £1.5 billion, has forced the club to keep playing at Montjuic's Olympic Stadium, which seats 55,000 instead of Camp Nou's 99,000. That's nearly 44,000 fewer tickets sold per home game, cutting matchday income almost in half. Marc Siria, Barcelona's former financial advisor, summed it up bluntly in 2024. The situation is that the club has an operating deficit of £300 million in 3 years of £700 million. We have not reduced the difference between income and expenses, and we have sold assets. That has served to buy players and cover ordinary losses. The economic levers that once looked like salvation now resemble handcuffs. Barcelona sold 25% of their La Liga TV rights to 6th Street for 25 years, bringing in about £600 million up front. But in return, the club will lose an estimated £40 million or more annually for the next quarter century, no matter how successful they are. It's like selling your house and then paying rent forever, Syria warned. La Liga's financial fair play rules continue to dictate what Barcelona can and cannot do. Their official spending limit has swung violently, around £600 million pre-crisis, down to £97 million at the worst point, then back up toward £200 million after Laporta's levers. But even in the treble-winning season, Barcelona were still walking a tightrope. That reality was exposed during the Dani Olmo saga. Barcelona announced his signing in December 2024, only to see La Liga block his registration alongside Pau Victor due to salary cap restrictions. In January 2025, Spain Spain's Sports Council, CSD, stepped in and granted provisional clearance, but the embarrassment highlighted how little room for maneuver Barcelona still had. And even before the 2025-26 season kicked off, Barca faced fresh struggles registering new contracts and squad additions. Players like Joan Garcia, Marcus Rashford on loan. Despite a treble-winning campaign, the club had to juggle sales, wage reductions, and creative financing just to ensure their squad was legally eligible for La Liga's opening weekend. Flick has done brilliantly with the squad he inherited, but he cannot escape the structural issues. Every signing requires creative accounting. Every renewal needs La Liga approval. Every window is a juggling act of sales, loans, and deferred payments. Meanwhile, the Camp Nou renovation continues to suffer delays and cost overruns. Until Barcelona return home, revenue will remain suppressed and debt obligations will grow heavier. This is why Barcelona still can't sign and register players with freedom, even after a domestic treble. Not because they lack ambition or talent, but because the reckless decisions of previous presidents created a regulatory prison. Until Barcelona truly fix their underlying debt structure, not with accounting tricks or short-term levers, but with long-term financial discipline, they will remain trapped by their past. More than a club, today, Barcelona have proven they can still win trophies. But the real battle isn't only on the pitch, it's on the balance sheet. The path to true freedom isn't measured in silverware, but in solvency. That's the true story of why Barcelona still struggle to register players, even as they win. It's a cautionary tale of how financial mistakes outlast even the most glorious victories.